So why don't we get started? There's a lot of echoes here, so I'll try to not to shout. My name is Daniel Yu. I'm the product manager for PowerPivot based in Redmond. And today we're going to have a very exciting session with Grant talking about some real customer examples of PowerPivot, which I'm very excited about. And at the end of the session, I'll be talking about the PowerPivot vNext, the next version of PowerPivot that will come in SQL Server Denali. I'd like to just give you a quick introduction of Grant. He's has been a long-time partner of Microsoft. He's the founder of Angry Koala, a consultancy firm in Sydney, Australia, and author of and a few books, and also the president of the Sydney user group for SQL Server. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Grant and have a good session.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. That's great. We'll see how we go. All right, we want a clicker.
Yeah.
All right, we want this number. D for demo. So you seem very excited about that. Okay, who here rides motorbikes? Wow, look at the sea of hands. Just a couple of us. Okay, why am I showing you that? I'm showing you that because that thing has 190 horsepower. I took one for a test ride. Okay, my old Datsun 240Z had 120 horsepower. This is a thing that's about this big, and it's just phenomenal power. And what makes it usable? What makes it usable is this incredible electronics inside it. So what happens is if you're on the corner and you just gun it, it says, you can't do that. I got to control it, traction control, all of those things. So PowerPivot is the same. Some people actually say PowerPivot is biblically fast. Let's just say it's very fast, right? Just like this. In the end, I actually got this instead. This is a Ducati Multistrada. Same thing under the covers though. If I go off-road, it jacks itself up, it reduces the horsepower, it stops the traction control a bit, flick it to sport and you're away. So you've got this amazing combination of what is flexibility. I've gone too far. It's basically on the fast side, it's flexible, because I can change its modes, etc. And it gives you this amazing feeling of freedom. And for those people that have used PowerPivot, you've probably felt that same thing. When you get no delay in what you do, it's just phenomenal. It just happens, and you get that feeling of freedom. So with that, who here is using PowerPivot already? Okay, just a few of you. All right, who rides mountain bikes? Oh, sorry, that's irrelevant. Oh, cool. By the way, on the way home, I go stop at Whistler and do a quick ride there. Who uses Excel 2010? All right, so we've got something in common. Awesome. You need Excel 2010 in order to do this.
I'm assuming you're here because you know about PowerPivot, right? Because I saw only a few people raising their hands.
No, that's all right. I was a bit worried. I don't know how many you went to an earlier session today on BI and the whole end-to-end, but they flew through stuff so fast, and this one's got to go a little bit slower to help you out a bit, I hope. So today I'm going to talk about navigation, visualization, and using the right metrics. So navigation is just helping us to get around, or helping our users to get around. Visualization is we've got data. we want to make sense of it. And so the visualization helps us do that. And we want to use the right metrics. For instance, if you've got seasonal data, it might be more appropriate that you use a ratio of product to overall sales rather than the raw numbers, because it's all getting mucked up by Christmas, for instance. This is a sort of thing eventually that you can produce. What we have here is basically a series of top 10. This was done for Microsoft back in Australia, and it's talking about their web statistics. So it's top referring sites, top pages, and top sites within that with some KPIs over the top. Now, if you haven't guessed, I'm from Australia, and you do know that it is only convention to have north at the top of the map, right? Cool. Anyone here from Australia, by the way? All right. We'll get together later. Okay. It's late in the day. I thought we probably need a few stories. You need to learn a bit about Australia. And so this is a trip I did. It was about 3,000 miles. I did it a few weeks ago. And the key things here is, let's see if this works. Have I got any beeper stuff? Nah, come on. Good. All right. So down here is the Great Ocean Road. That was the main reason we headed off. I live up here. And then we went up to Roxby Downs, which is a mining town, and up to Lake Eyre. Lake Eyre at the moment is actually full of water. From all the rains you've probably seen in Brisbane and some of those, it only fills with water every 20 years or so. So we thought it's probably time we went in and had a look. Usually it evaporates before it even gets there. So we grabbed a caravan, we headed off. Believe it or not, we do have kangaroos just sitting beside the road sometimes, and there they are. In fact, we even have koalas. This particular section along here had 44 wild koalas we counted. Now, interestingly, they weren't angry. They're a bit smelly, but they weren't angry. I'm from Angry Koala, in case you hadn't read that at the beginning. So a lot of the roads were fairly straightforward. They got a little bit rougher when we got way inland. Sometimes there was barely a track, and other times there was no track at all. Now, this is heading right up to Lake Eyre at this point. We crossed creek beds that were dry. We crossed creek beds that were wet. And they were actually quite difficult to get out of. We only just made it up through that one. We had our fair share of problems. I had 4 punctures in 3 tyres and 1 spare. Luckily, my partner in crime had the repair kit, so we sort of managed to get home. So this is where we start talking about why we're here today. Believe it or not, in the bottom there are fish. Now, I don't really consider them fish. They're actually our users. So they're our users and they're trying to get upstream, and there's heaps of them. In fact, there's so many they're piling themselves up to get to the other side. Now, we've conveniently created a navigation ladder for them. The only problem with our navigation ladder is it's so narrow at the front, not many fish are actually users are finding their way to the other side. But that's okay, because we were there. So we grabbed our users and we moved them to the top side of the weir. Now, eventually, these minnows turn into tuna. Of course, everybody knows that. And of course, what we're going to do to these poor tuna is we're going to slice them up. Slices are a new thing that we have in PowerPivot. How's that for a long story to get to slices? All right, that's good. Okay, we've got to make it a bit interesting. We will get to some technology. The girl said, "That's fantastic." In fact, it's so fantastic, they said, "Throw out koalas."
Need help?
Eventually, we'll talk about something. All right. Navigation. We've got to do some work now. Okay, let's go back to here. And let's do something. Thank you. Are we up? Sweet. Okay, PowerPivot is an add-in for Excel. It's free. How fantastic is that? Microsoft is betting, woohoo, okay, excellent. Microsoft is betting if you start using this, you're going to want to share it with other people. To share it with other people, you need SharePoint. Is SharePoint free? No, we have to pay at that point. So we got to hook you first. It's like drugs. Am I allowed to say that?
No.
Oh, good. Okay, so that was the ad, and we've clicked on. This echo is crazy.
Yeah.
So we've clicked at the data underneath. What we have here is, believe it or not, there is some crime in Australia. I know you're shocked. We've got dangerous animals. We also have some crime. And what we've got here is the local government area, what category of crime it was, the subcategory, and the month that took place, and then a count of how many things took place. So fairly straightforward. We've got one data set. I'm not going to go into too much detail about where you can get the data, but basically you can get it from SQL and all those sort of places. I will mention one thing, which I didn't mention last time I gave this session, and that is, I mentioned that you can get things from OData feeds, which means you can go out to Netflix and actually download the movies, the genres, and the whole bit. Has anybody here done that, by the way, using PowerPivot? No? Oh, a couple. All right. Very powerful, because reporting services in R2 is an Atom feed as well. So you can create reporting services reports, put all the logic for security at that level for your users, and then they can point at PowerPivot and get only the data that they're allowed to have. So we've got some data. Let's go back into Excel. And we're going to add a pivot table. Now I could do a chart, or I could do multiple charts. I'm just going to do a pivot table for the moment. We'll use the current existing worksheet. And it's now connecting to that what is an in-memory queue. So let's put the count of those naughty people, what they've been up to. And what do I want? Home. And we'll set the formatting for that so it's a bit nicer to read. And let's see what they've been up to. So that's what they've been up to. And of course, we've got these wonderful slices. So I can take the local government area and put in a vertical slice. And I can take the subcategory and the category, put it up the top. Okay, so what we have now is a set of slices. And so if I want to see what's happening in Ashfield, I can see what's happening in Ashfield. In fact, probably what we want to do is sort this. So sort, more sort options. There are other ways to do this, by the way. Descending by the sum of count. Okay, theft, number 1. Bankstown, theft. Okay, so you get the general idea. I can click on one or many and things just work. So that happens pretty well out of the box. These slices, by the way, have their own pivot, have their own ribbon, and you can change the look and feel of these just by clicking on the colours. If you want more control than that, you can right-click. Actually, we'll do it on this guy. You can right-click on one of these and say duplicate. Once you duplicate it, you have access to, let me zoom in a bit. Okay, selected items with data, selected items with no data, etc. And then we can go in and format those to our heart's content. We can set background colour, surround colour, and all those sort of things. So you've got complete control over what's going on. So in fact, this is one I created earlier. If I biff on that, you see we get quite a different look and feel. All right, so we can create some pretty nice stuff for our users. The other thing to consider is it's nice that PowerPivot looks after these slices for you, but who's had trouble with them actually doing things when they don't want them to? All right, it just rearranges stuff when we don't want it. That's pretty easy to solve. We just pick it up and take it out. Once it's outside, it doesn't get affected by the PowerPivot controls anymore. I can happily set the number of columns and rows and all that sort of thing. Okay? So it's all under control. So far, so good. We continue. All right, let's continue. So the other thing we can do with this pivot table is actually move it elsewhere. So in the pivot table tools, we can move the table to a new worksheet. Let's insert a row, insert a row. Okay, so, but notice this is still attached to this information. So when I change this, if you're observant, you'll notice that these things have changed. So let's make that crime. Now, this is one of the best tips I saw one of my users do ever. I don't know if you know about this. If you hold the control key down and click and drag, it makes a copy of that. All right, that's pretty handy because if you're trying to hook all of these things up all the time, it takes you forever. What happened under the covers is it copied it with all the connections, and I'll show you what those connections look like. This is now a separate thing in terms of the data I'm showing. So instead of category, I can show, for instance, local government area. We've got local government area sitting on this sheet. So we've got two sheets with two different sets of information in it now. And the way that these slices are working is if we click on one, you'll notice they have a connection thing here. Actually, let me fix that up first. So that makes sense. Local government area. And we go back to our sheet. And let's click on a slicer. Click on the ribbon. Look at the connections. Okay, it's saying this slicer is connected to the pivot table in the crime sheet and in the local government area sheet. So it's actually hooked to both. So what this means is you can start building up data all through your workbook and then have what is effectively a slicer sheet for the users to pick what they want to go, like a board report where you pick the date and maybe the area and away you go. Make sense? Cool. That'll probably do for the minute. So do you want to... So we got a bit further on our trip. Actually, it was early in our trip, down to the Great Ocean Road. The Great Ocean Road, you can get right down to the water and look at these magnificent rock formations. Does anyone know what the rock formations are? There's my Australian, he should know. Sorry?
Seven Sisters.
What do you say?
Seven Sisters.
Seven Sisters. Almost. Well, I've got 3 daughters. This is the 12 Apostles. Forget top 10. Forget you've ever heard of top 10. It's 12, believe me. The girl said, that's fantastic. I think that was 3 joined together. You may want to separate it out. Okay, let's go back. You mind controlling me? Is that all right, Kevin?
I'll control you.
Keep controlling me. I need control. Okay, what do we got here? Top, how do we get over there? All right, top 12, pretty straightforward to do. In here, filter, forget top 10, we want top 12. We got top 12, isn't that fantastic? Well, that's worth at least a few slides. So what we can do though, is now that we've got top 12, it makes more sense to do some charting. So we can say, put in a pivot chart here, let's make it a bar graph. It's not sorted, so let's sort it. More sort options, descending by count. Cool, now it's sorted. Now, you can copy this back to the front page, or you can cut and paste it. I'm going to cut and paste it, so I've cut that, put it back onto the front page, paste it in there, and now, if I look at particular things like abduction and kidnapping, then you can see where the main areas where you don't want to live in Sydney is, and Sydney doesn't look like a particularly nice place. Arson, Campbelltown. Now, this is really interesting for me as an Australian. For you as Americans, not so interesting, but I'm just getting you back for all those things in AdventureWorks, which is America. Is there anything else I need to show? All right, I hope I have the last laugh. Okay, I think that was it. We're doing top 10. I showed you we can push that to the front, so if you wouldn't mind going back, and we'll see where we're at. If I can find my clicker. That was the demo, top 12. Okay, so we saw the slicer gallery, how we can build up a slicer gallery and link multiple pivot tables together. And of course, we all know that it's not top 10, it's top 12. This is Andamuka. Andamuka is just north of Roxby Downs. It's like a most outlawish place you've ever seen in your life. It's an opal mine. Now, I don't think they even have like a local government. It's just do what you like. And they had a really interesting cemetery. Is that politically correct? I just took the photo. It was there, right? So some people say that big is good. But sometimes things can be too big. It's just not necessary to have a seat that large. So what we want to do is we want to have visualizations that are small and still give us information. And what we use for that is sparklines. The girl said, "That's fantastic." They're sharp, they're angry, so you've got to be very careful. They don't, oh, shit.
Whoa. There's lawsuits in America.
They can't extradite me, can they?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question.
All right, I think with that I need to click another button. Oh, good, you want to learn about sparklines.
Okay.
Okay, so if we go back to the local government, no, we'll stick with that sheet actually, the crime sheet, which was this. If we go back to here, look at all of those, and then look at that over time. So we put the year into the columns. We now got that over years. I click in here. I go insert, line. And the range is from there to there. Actually, I'm doing this. Let me do this differently. I'd rather do it on the crime sheet. Where's time again? Year. Same thing. If on here, click on the line, range, there to there. Eep. I love giving demonstrations. I've got two 1900 each monitors at home, and they expect us to demonstrate it to you through a very small machine. Okay. Pretty good. Round of applause. Everyone's awake. Look how much information I'm getting now. I can see that liquor offences, man, they're climbing like crazy. It doesn't look like, I think, what was it? Prostitution, that's down. Homicide, way down, so that's not so bad. So in a very small space, we can give quite a lot of information. And what you do is you bubble that up onto the front sheet, and then you have the user control those things, and we get a very rich environment. The other thing we can do is we can use conditional formatting. So back in the Home tab, under conditional formatting, we can do colour scales. I don't like the ones that go from one colour to other. It's just too busy. There's stuff all over the place. And there are actually people that are colourblind, I've heard. So they can't tell the difference between red and green, apparently. So I usually do a scale, and you can apply that across all the cells, and you can see that the concentration is in the theft and that sort of area. So that's just another way of visualising the data. So you want to flick me back, please? Okay, so sparklines, seen that. So we saw the sparklines, we saw the top 12 again, remember it's always top 12, and the conditional formatting. Well, that's all, wow, there's no story with this one, okay. ATM transactions, let's jump back in. It's D, is it that one? D. It's my girls jumping up from behind. All right, so ATM transactions. Now I toyed with the idea of having all these spreadsheets up and running in front of you already. The trouble with that is you don't actually get a feel for how long some of these take to load. So I'm now going to feel what it's like to feel these things load in front of a live audience. So let's have a look behind the scenes, go into PowerPivot, jump in behind, and while that's loading, I'll tell you about the data. So the Victorian government was considering taking ATMs out of gambling establishments because they thought that people would probably keep going back to them more than once and spending lots of money in a gambling establishment. I don't know what they were thinking. And so what they wanted to know from the ATM company that put this information in is how much are people taking out per day per ATM. All right, how many times they're going back and how often. Now, they put this together in a spreadsheet, or actually it turns out several spreadsheets, obviously, because there's a lot of data, and it took them quite a while to put together. I put it together in PowerPivot, and I'll show you the results of that as soon as they come up. This must be slower than normal.
No, I don't know what's going on, but maybe you can just throw more koalas.
Yeah. So, okay, who have I? Which way? Over there. Okay. Well, there's hands going. Yeah, there's a guy right up the back. Don't have that. I'm not a baseball person, so we're not going to get very far with that. Hey, it's come back. This is cool. Okay. I could take a long time to do this, but I won't. How many times did somebody go back to the same machine on the same day? If you call it out. 50. All right. Have you been back to the same machine 50 times on the same day? Largest to smallest. Bam. 27 times is the winning score. How much did they take out? $840. $2 per transaction. I don't think they're really thinking things through. But how much do you think is the most someone took out in a day? No, you're in Australia, mate. We got lots of money.
Oh.
15,000. Recession? What recession? $15,000. I didn't know you could do that. Apparently you can in some machines. All right, let's get out of there. Now, by the way, notice how that was instant? Talking about the power of the motorbike version, things like that. How many rows were we dealing with then? We go down the bottom here. 24 million. Okay, we were just playing with 24 million rows. What's that look like to manipulate? Well, you can just drag up and down as though it's 1,000 rows. Pretty cool. All right, so I've got the transactions, I've got the information about the ATMs themselves, and I've got a date thing that I've thrown in there so I can hook it up for use and things like that. So let's go back in and have a look what it looks like. So the first thing hang on. There's one thing I forgot to show you. Back in here, one of the huge advantages of PowerPivot, in fact over analysis services, traditional analysis services, is it's very good at bottom-up calculations. So I can create a cell here, which I did, which says if it's over $1,000, make it 1,000, otherwise divide it into $200 lots. So it's breaking it up into, basically it's banding it into groups. Make sense? Cool. All right, that's all I wanted to show you there. So we've got our spark lines, we've got hotel with gambling, I've done some highlighting across the band, so this is going to give them a good idea of what the spread of things going is. Now, one of the things I love about PowerPivot is it doesn't care whether something's a measure or an attribute. This withdrawals thing here, I can obviously add it up to see how many withdrawals there are, but I can also put it as a slicer. Ooh, guess what? There's our friend, 27. Hotel with gambling. What a surprise! In fact, if I take all of these, from 21 to 27, that was your shift click, by the way, you'll notice they're all with gambling as well. Okay? I did the nice shiny object stuff. So there's a nice shiny object. I don't normally do this except when I'm trying to convince someone I should work there. If we look at a financial institution, that's quite a different shape. The big dip, by the way, that was Christmas. Gentlemen's Club, we'll talk about that a bit later. Quite a different profile, convenience store, you know, pretty cool. Demo as well. Okay, what I've done here, I'll just get it started, is I have put that slicer in the legend side. And so what happens is that we can now combine that information. Remember, we've got multiple sheets now. They're all busily updating the background and updating the charts on this front page. Now, do be a bit kind. I know it's taking a couple of seconds, but there's 24 million rows there, and we're attacking it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Okay? Although normally it's faster than this. So I don't know why it's slower. It must be demo land. Oh, we got there eventually. Okay, so what we have here is this is the spread of the withdrawals compared between it. You'll notice that withdrawals in gambling establishments are around 300 per day, 150 non-gambling, gentlemen's clubs about 100. Gentlemen's Club, about $250 per transaction. 200 to, by the way, that means I guess a cigar is about, I don't know, $200 or something. And so forth. So what it means is you can compare things very easily using this environment. I think that was it for the moment. Thank you. So we went through that, showed a couple of tricky things. User was happy. We learnt some stuff. So we used Sparkline, banding, you saw the banding I did there, conditional formatting, and multiple charts. Age payments. I'm working you overtime. Okay, in this case, I suppose if I shouldn't close the whole of Excel. So this is, in this challenge, the client is trying to work out all the people that owe me money, how efficient are they at paying me back? And this is a slightly different scenario to normal because in order to work this out, it's like a point in time. So at this point in time, I want to look at all the outstanding invoices. So that's anything between the invoice start date, so when they were invoiced, and when they actually paid. And I'm slicing right through the middle of that to try and get the information. Now, in order for me to make sense of that, the first thing I did was I created my own banding system. And you can see here I've got 5 bands with information there. In order to get it into PowerPivot, you go into the PowerPivots. Oh, actually, first of all, you have to make it a table. And I usually use warm colours because PowerPivot is cold for some reason. And I don't like getting confused. Important thing here is to rename this. I'm going to say band, if I spell correctly. And then we biff on here in PowerPivot and we say, push that through, create link table. This will take a moment because it's going to load up all the transactions for this cube. Okay, so what it's doing, it's taking the stuff I've created and it's now pushing it in underneath to the PowerPivot area itself. And what that's going to enable me to do is then to hook that up to existing data. So our users will have the ability to use data that we give them, as in nice, blessed data, and then combine it with other things, or just group things in different ways. I swear it's slower than... Oh, more koalas. Yeah. There are advantages to slow machines, I guess. Tell me if it comes back. Yeah. Yeah. Is it back?
It's back.
All right.
You have your power setting to...
Low?
Yeah, low or full power setting?
Oh, full.
Okay, interesting. Never seen this is so slow. Usually it's really fast.
The good thing about America is you have really cheap stuff. I bought this lovely laptop. It didn't get here in time. This is about a year old. But it just goes to show, you know, PowerPivot, because it's in memory, okay, it may take a little while to load. Once it loads, it's in memory, it's very fast. Okay, so this is ready to go, almost. In the payments itself, I need to be able to hook that in. And so what I did was I created a column here called Days Late Band. Oh no, I don't want that. Oh yeah, that's right. If the Days Late Band is greater than 30, make it 1, greater than 60. So it's just a case statement setting up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty straightforward. Which means when we go in to here, we can create a relationship and push it in. Now I won't do it because I've already set it up here. So if you have a look under Design, under Manage Relationships, you can see that the Days Late key, it says the payments table, Days Late key is hooked to the Days Late band. Pretty straightforward. So that's how we move in our own data. Now if I go back in Excel and I change the numbers, it'll just all work through the whole system. So that's pretty cool. Just wondering what else I had here that was interesting. That's the main thing. All right. So, what do we get to do? This is what we wind up with. So we've got this lovely graph here which is showing over time this company is actually getting better at controlling its debtors. That's over 180 days, these things, and that's how much. You can look at particular areas or particular companies and see how they're performing. So what's happening under the covers? We need 2 formulas to do this. The first one is in the time dimension, or table, I guess. Okay, this one simply says no matter what I slice by in the time, take the maximum at the day level. So it says if I do year, take the last day of the year. If I do month, take the last day of the month. Make sense? The trick with this time dimensioner is it's not physically attached to the data. So we didn't say this date is invoice data or anything. It's just completely not attached. And that means that in the payments itself, I can create a new formula, a new measure, which says outstanding amount. I love some of the other sessions they went to and they said, oh, it's only 20 lines of code, and then they dive in and this is only 4 lines of code. Using the calculate statement, it says sum the paid amount, and then what happens in the calculator, it says this is what I calculated, and then a series of filters. In this case, the filter says take all the payments where the invoice date is less than the closing date and the payment date is greater than the closing date. So in other words, that closing date or the point in time, we've got to get things on either side of it. And that's going to sum all the amounts for that and bring the information back. And that's what we've done. Pretty cool? I think that's it. If you want to flick back, please. Just start the next one. Age payments. We did. Okay. Okay, so that was a point-in-time reporting, and we're doing some banding. Anyone here know what geocaching is? A couple. I discovered geocaching before tripping off to Europe one time. Basically, people hide boxes and tell you the GPS coordinates to it. When you find it, you open it up, you sign that you found it, you take out a toy, and you put a toy in. It's insane, and it's right through America, and it's quite big in Australia as well. So I was off looking for a geocache. This is what I found. Does anybody know what that is? Sorry? Termites? No. But nice try. Okay. It's swallows. The slide was upside down. I don't know how it got in there upside down. What am I trying to show here? Things are not always what they seem, okay? We want to show the right data in the right way. That's actually a bunker at Woomera where they do all the testing for rockets and things like that. So that's it up the top there. And that's where the geocache was, in underneath that rock. So if you know where it is now, so I've spoiled it for you. Don't tell them. The girl said that's fantastic.
Whoa.
Did they all stick together, by the way? All right. Let's jump back. I think the girls are happy enough. Okay, this is ATM transactions. It's the same idea. I might skip some of the... better jump in and show you. How are we going for time?
Oh, we're fine.
Okay. PowerPivot. What was on this page, by the way, is I didn't like the groupings. Now, that means our users can do the same thing. They can create their own groupings. This particular company rents out equipment. So they rent out computers, and they more recently got into medical equipment. Now, they had the same problem. They didn't want to know just how much stuff they're renting out. They want to know, at this point in time, how much stuff have I got out under management? So it's the same concept as the last one you saw. And that just means more koalas if it's going to keep doing that. Uh-oh.
Running out?
I didn't have a lot of luggage to bring too many over here. Someone over there. It's back. When I did the practices for this, I didn't allow time for throwing koalas, so I'm sorry. Okay, so we've got some models. The thing I wanted to show you here first is that setup where I said product line, I created my own grouping. That is this one here. It's been pushed back into here, and I say that these model categories go up to this model line. Now you'll notice that in the design tab, you can hide and show what the users see. I said don't show them anything to do with product lines. The reason for that is back in the model table, I created a calculation here which says take this model and get the related model line back in that other table. So that's now moved the product line into the model table. And the reason I've done that is it makes it easier for the user. Instead of having all these tables, which in effect are just lookups, you can actually put the information where it belongs. That works really well, by the way. Okay. The other thing in this data is it was from all over the world. So there was a conversion thing. Now this is pretty simplistic, right? You just multiply the numbers out. You can make it more complex by putting the years or days or whatever granularity you want to get to, which means when you get to the asset itself and you want to work out what the cost is, you have to do the calculation, and that's the calculation. Just be aware that you don't such as the original cost times the currency conversion ratio in the other table, okay? And you need to use a related function to do that. You have to show some code in 300, right?
Some.
Is that enough?
That's enough.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go back into that and see what we get out of that. Okay, so remember the point of this is talking about the right data. This is the same information, okay? It's medical equipment, PCs and monitors and services. So this is the total, which is about 400 million under management over these years. This is the same graph, it's just not stacked. So we start to see the relative things, with PCs and monitors actually taking quite a dominant role there. But here, over the 3 years, you see medical and scientific, in terms of the average dollars, has climbed quite a lot. Services has dropped through the floor. It's probably bad news for Angry Koala, I guess. And then percentage share is the share of that particular product over the other. So that's looking at the portfolio. So that's the same raw number shown in quite different ways, all right? And so you get quite different insights from that. And if you could flick back, please. Microsoft has stopped working. If that totally blows up, the good news is I know how to fix it because it blew up for me before, because I was doing so much stuff. Well, good news is we're almost done. Okay. So we showed this, changes. Okay, so point-in-time reporting, banding, currency conversion, right metrics. I guess you guys can read. I aren't meant to read from a slide, am I? Damn it. I'll remember next time. Okay. The retailer demo. Have we got time for me to do one more quick one?
I think we have time. This is the last
Okay,
one?
this is the last one.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. All right, so you've got to flick across.
20 minutes.
We'll make this very quick.
Okay.
Okay, I'll skip the first part and we'll go straight to the charts. Might be very quick. Okay. So remember I said I had a new machine on the way? It's on the way. Flick it back. Man's always prepared. Okay, what it was we've just won a contract to do a data warehouse for Rebel Sports. And they have 130 stores throughout Australia, and they have, well, unfortunately I didn't want to show this too much because it looks a bit too much like AdventureWorks, but it's real data, it's not AdventureWorks. And effectively, the main point of this was I had information to me, which was rolling up postcodes, which is the same as your zip codes, up into regions and things like that. And what I was able to do, therefore, was look at the difference between metro and country. Metro being red and country being blue. That was data they didn't have. I just added that. So, for instance, I can click on pink, I think I did there, and you can see where all the, I don't know, people buy pink things. And then the same thing for extra large. One of their challenges, by the way, is working out the sizes and where to put what sizes and what stores. And so by having this sort of information, they're able to do that. How'd that get in there? All right. The first night we were camping, it was friggin' freezing. And of course, I like a bargain, so I went and found these triple extra large pajamas, and my daughter was there. She immediately took a photo and put it on Facebook. Looking good. So these things don't have to look like Excel. Here's some examples just using formatting with same thing at the top here. That's just a slicer. If I select things within the slicer, Did it not move? Oh, good. Now that's broken.
Is that working?
There we go. I've run a... okay, so now we've selected certain things in that slicer. This is the price of oil across quarters. I gather it depends on what's happening in terms of summer versus winter. Some information on schools. I won't go into details on this. Basically, it's taking a whole lot of information about stores and where they operate, and then what you're able to do is to change the demographic information, which was publicly owned, to see what happens if things change and what your percentage share of that is. Done by a guy called Rob Colley, who's another MVP. They run a site called Pivot Stream, which is doing PowerPivot in the cloud right now. So you can go in, you can look at some reports, get a bit deeper, and we look at, in this case, the market share of wine. So this is wine all over the country. You notice we've set up he set up a slicer gallery, so the user selects what they want. In this case, we picked Atlanta. And you'll see that Australia, top right, number 2, you're drinking our wine. Unfortunately, well, you can't see it at all, I'll tell you what it is. It's dropped. Maybe our dollar's getting a bit high for you guys, I don't know. Of course, that was wrong because that was 25. We all know top 12. Another example. This is just Excel, popping the things in there. At the end of the day, the pharmacist knows that or the doctor's going to know he's going to make this much extra money. So you can use it for building these applications on the fly. I spoke a bit about that. What I don't have time at the moment is to show you how to do that. But in the background, the secret to it is in the tools, there's a thing that says convert to formula, convert it to formula, and then you can rearrange it and just change the formula. So what have we learnt in building our PowerPivot things? Okay. Don't be confusing for your users. Give very clear directions. If you come to Australia, could you please drive on the left-hand side of the road? Please. Pay attention to your users. By the way, that water comes out in the middle. It takes 2 million years to get there. And by the way, try and hide your excitement when they tell you what they want. Keep everything simple, right? And I think that's actually the most exciting thing. Keep it simple. So with that, lessons learned, use the slicers, use spark lines, keep it simple, and show the right data. And the girl said, that was fantastic. And it's over to you, Kevin. I've left you at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Did I kill anyone? Ooh, we left a little.
I wanted one.
You can hand out the T-shirts.
No, I haven't. Great. So thanks a lot. What I loved about the demos is that actually these demos were actually from customers. And one of the things that I want to share with you is that we have tens of thousands of new customers per month adopting PowerPivot throughout the world. So this is fantastic. Last year, we won, I don't know if you guys know this, but we won the eWeek Top 10 Product of the Year. Did anybody know this? No? This is news to you, right? So we won this award alongside with products like iPad. And it's not common for a product that comes from SQL Server to win an award that is usually given to consumer products. And that tells you how much impact PowerPivot has with customers around the world. We talked about the fact that you could do very cool things like this. And this is a real customer example from the one that he showed, where they took the power of Excel and PowerPivot and created this app for the New York school system. And it shows you how powerful Excel is. And what is cool about PowerPivot is, everything that you do is part of Excel. So we're not giving you another tool for you to learn, but PowerPivot has the convenience of being something that you already know and know how to use. What I'd like to do today is talk about the things that we made changes for SQL Denali. So when SQL Denali comes, sometime in the next few months, we'll have new capabilities in PowerPivot. It will still be free, but we'll add advanced functionalities for end users for PowerPivot. And even though tomorrow we'll have a few sessions around how to use the next version of PowerPivot, which will go in detail, I'd like to quickly show you some of the enhancements that we have done. We've done enhancements in PowerPivot in two areas. One around the modeling capabilities of PowerPivot, and the next one around the business logic. And the difference, you might not care about this, but the way I classify these differences is the rich modeling capabilities is what you do with the data that you already have in PowerPivot. And with business logic is the intelligence that you add on top of your data. And we do this through something called DAX, data analysis expressions. You've probably seen some of the examples that Grant showed you today. So let me talk about the first ones, the rich modeling capabilities. Back here, PowerPivot. Okay. And go give you an example of this. This is the new PowerPivot. That, by the way, you'll be able to use this as a CTP this summer once we have the Denali CTP. So I will encourage you to download it, and if you have Excel 2010, this will work as is. One of the key things we have added here is the ability to create KPIs on top of PowerPivot. You couldn't do this before, so let me show you that. Let me select a new measure that I created, and on top, you will see a new button that says Create KPIs. When you click this, now you have the ability to select the measure, select what type of graph you want to, or icons you want to use. I'm going to use this icon and give them anything that is below 70% red, above maybe 90% green, and voila, now I have new KPIs that I can add in PowerPivot. Okay? On top of that, we've added functionality so that you can do deal through. This is something that we quite often get asked. I want to drill deeper into this into data set. So if you go to show details into the menu, you'll be able to do a deal through of your data, like so. Okay? Now, I mentioned that we have this concept of rich modeling capabilities. In PowerPivot, the window automatically shows, this should be familiar to you, but if you go back to the menu and then by default there's the normal mode and there's also an advanced mode, because in reality the majority of the PowerPivot users will be non-sophisticated business users creating this, but there are a segment of you that have a BI background that want more advanced functionalities, and we have added this advanced mode on top of PowerPivot. When you select this, a new advanced functionality capability will show up. A lot of this will be used to build Crescent reports later on, which I'm not going to go into detail today. But one of the things that we have added is perspectives, and perspectives is useful when you have a lot of data. This is a way of segmenting the data that you have. Right now,
PowerPivot VNext.
is you can, even though you can hide some of the measures from the user view, if you want to group things together into more logical manner, well, you can create new perspectives. And I'm just going to call maybe this is for the sales department, and I'm going to add the budget tables, and then also employee, internal sales. I can add another one for the finance department, and I can select again budget, but give them just a view of the product only. So when I do OK, let me go back to Excel. Okay, now I have perspectives here on top. And when I select this, I then have only the view of the things that are relevant for my end users. One of the things I'd like to mention, this is not a way of managing security. We have a different security mechanism that we are implementing here. This is a way of segmenting the view of the data that you have. Okay? So we talked about KPIs, we talked about deal throughs, we talked about the ability to do these perspectives. One thing that is major in terms of improvement is the ability to make relationship between data sets using visual manners. So what I mean by that is, you guys used Access before, yes? So the way you do relationship between tables in Access is by dragging and dropping
This is cool.
a relationship between objects. And this is the view you're going to get in PowerPivot.
Nice.
Right? So this is very easy way of, for instance, you can select a column and then drag and drop to create your relationships. I'm not going to create. I shouldn't have done that because it's
Too late.
take a while. But do I throw koalas? I don't have any koalas.
There's a T-shirt.
Well, I'll throw. It's done, so it's okay. So you can create by dragging and dropping a relationship between those tables very, very easily in a visual manner. You can also create what we call the parent-child. And let me go back to the data view here. Maybe a different example of that would be better. Go here. Okay. Employee. So one thing that we've asked, we got asked a lot, is the ability to do hierarchies and parent-child, which you couldn't do before in PowerPivot. And you do this parent-child by DAX formulas. And we have a bunch of new DAX formulas, by the way. We have formulas for statistical formulas, like standard deviation, like variance, which was something that we lacked last time. But we have something called the parent-child functions. The parent-child gives you the ability to take two columns. In this case, I'm taking employee and parent-employee, which in the PowerPivot V1 version, you couldn't do much about building relationships. And very quickly, with one function called path here, I just gave them the function path, and I gave them the name of the first and second column. And automatically, PowerPivot went and created the relationship between those two. The 112 could be, this is a parent-child relationship for employees. 112 could be CEO, the next could be vice presidents, and so on and so forth. So it created these parent-child relationships. What is now important is that once you create this, you can go back to the diagram view. It will take a while to load. Oh, wow, that was quite quick. I was going to throw shirts, but I'll throw it anyways, because I also like to throw things. Okay.
They're not going to go as far. We've got to save a couple for questions.
Yeah. I missed. So by the way, I had surgery last week, and after I threw the shirt, I realized I shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
I'll throw them for you.
Plus, I'm getting old too. Anyway, but in employees, since we created the relationship, now you can create something called hierarchies. Yes? Here you see the icon, create hierarchies, and have this view. In an Excel, it looks like this. Well, there you go. I guess let me unselect and show you how it looks like. Once you create a hierarchy, you can see the hierarchy here, and when you select back, you can see the hierarchies of your employees. Sanchez being the CEO, Bradley, vice president, or whatever, and then seeing the hierarchies for each of the employees. Okay. Now, let me show two more things before I conclude, because I don't want to steal the thunder from the session tomorrow. But there are a bunch of new functionalities in DAX, like I mentioned, that I think are quite useful. The first one is rank. Grant showed you that you could do using the functionalities from Excel, top 10, top 12. Here, we can use also DAX formulas to create rank. And let me show you what that looks like. Measure. And we have a new, again, DAX formula called rank, and basically I said, well, for all my geography column, based on the sales amount, give me the rank. So it orders my geography rows based on the sales and gives a number, obviously. Okay, and finally we also have something called top N. You guys know what top N is, right? Top 10, top 12. And you can do that also by using DAX formulas as well. Oops, wrong one. It's hard to see with this. Well, you get the idea.
We do.
Hard to see with those. Sorry. Okay. Well, I chose the wrong one. By the way, if you guys have any of you have done the development on SQL Server Analysis Services? Yeah? How many? Maybe 2 or 3. Do you know what this thing count is? Mm-hmm. Is something that is not easy to do in PowerPivot, actually in AS. And here we also have a way of doing this thing count very easily. Just through a DAX formula. So I want to mention that because even though it's in Excel it looks easy, we took it was a hard problem to solve that we added here. So what I mentioned the DAX formulas is that more and more, the more you use PowerPivot, the more you're going to use the DAX formulas to build very sophisticated, very powerful solution for your customers. So we have a new white paper coming up that is going to be talk about the enhancements that we're in DAX, and I'm actually very excited about those new functionalities, and I hope you enjoy the new functionalities we're providing here. Now, I'm over time here, so we'll open up for questions and then conclude our session. All right? So if you come to the microphone, because we don't have a speaker here, we can't hear very well. If you come to the microphone and then.
I also want to make a quick announcement before you guys take off.
Okay.
One thing, by the way, is we spend a lot of time and effort in putting these things together. Yeah? It'd be really nice if you spent that little bit of time to do evaluation, and it'd be even nicer if you maybe put a little comment in there, because they're things that we do read, we do take them aboard, both from the product team and the point of view of further presentations and what we can do to make them, I guess, better. So what's happening here is it's one of those win-win-win situations. Basically, PowerPivot is combining with PivotStream, is combining with Rackspace, and Microsoft's going to supply the prizes. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a reporting competition. So that'll be people pushing up PowerPivot reports. They'll be hosted on the PivotStream environment and on Rackspace, so anybody can go up there and run those, and there'll be a big competition, and it's not absolutely official, but it looks like the first prize will be a trip to Pass in November. So from anywhere in the world, it's the trip and staying there and the whole bit. So we're really excited about doing that. So really looking forward to what we come up with, or what you guys come up with for that. So hosted powerpivot.reportsurfer.com, and that if you register on that site, when the competition gets going, we'll contact you.
Absolutely, and we're gonna do more marketing around this once around June timeframe. So hopefully you can participate, right?
Yeah, win in your box.
Oh wow.
Okay, so I'll clap ourselves.
Okay.
I'd like one question. What